You hear me on TikTok?
Let me come. I got one turned down. Hold on. Go
Check,
again.
check, check. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, I hear you over that way.
All right, boy. Yeah, we rock with that, man. All right, all right, all right. So for the people, for the viewers watching, I do apologize, but that's usually how shows go or any type of production. There's going to be things that happen beforehand that's going to be trial and error. But we are here now, and like I said, once again, with this particular segment, with this element of this brand or this particular network or this umbrella that is the lunch table. I am the co-host here, and I would say my dog here is going to be the host and going to be the spearhead of this. I'm going to be the caboose. Definitely going to be here interactive, and I'm going to be adding my own interjections for what I do know. But he's going to be steering this captain and steering the ship. He's the captain, and yeah, I'm the caboose. Take it away, sir.
No, and I appreciate you, brother Savo. And I appreciate the lunch table 850 having me here and everyone. Appreciate you tuning in. It's Jay Green, the Revolutionary. Really just want to spit some knowledge to you because a lot of people say free speech. A lot of people want to talk about what it is to have free speech. But as soon as someone has an opinion that's different than your opinion, then people want to start talking about censoring speech. No one ever talks about censored speech, but free speech, what's the opposite of free speech? Not free speech. What's not free speech? Censored speech. So if I censor speech, you saw Jimmy Kimmel was recently censored. He was pulled off the air. He was censored so hard. If I don't have the ability to say what's on my mind, if it's right, that helps lend to the truth. If it's wrong, that helps the opinion that I have that I feel is true from my perspective, even though it may not be true factually, it doesn't allow me to be corrected. So if I have a whole bunch of children running around not being corrected, who grow up into adults who don't know how to be corrected, it looks a lot like when someone such as, and not talking about the tragic incident of the murder of the individual Charlie Kirk, but the free speech in which he chose to use. Free speech, no matter how vile the Constitution says, free speech is protected. Hate speech is protected speech. Excuse me. Hate speech is protected speech. Symbolic speech is protected. But the thing is, it's when you incite violence, if you incite a riot, that's when speech, if harm erupts from speech. If a Klansman or someone who I know opposes my life has speech that I know they hate me, I need opportunity for them to learn, if it's not from me, from others who have the same mental capacity of my thought process to recognize my humanity. We need spaces to talk. Is what's the point of preaching to the choir? I'm not coming to convince you that you need Jesus. It's the person who don't know God, but not talking about religion. It's the metaphor of preaching to the choir. I don't need to convince other black folks that black folks are oppressed. I don't need to convince black folk that racism and white supremacy exist. Something we understand and live every day.
Right.
It's not our job to educate white people. And I'm going to say that again. It is not black folks' job to educate white folks on what's right and wrong. One, you have to have a moral conscience. Two, white folks who have a moral conscience have to teach other white folks who lack moral consciousness the ability to empathize and sympathize. Empathy, when you talk about psychology, the American Psychological Association, empathy is the ability to put yourself in one's shoes. Sympathy is when a person has had the lived experience from their personal lived experience. so they can relate to you in a whole different way than me hearing what's occurred in your life and feeling some type of moral way.
And
But when
apathy
it comes,
and apathy people just means that you're pathetic. I'm sorry, let's go.
or there could be a lack of, because they're not taught emotions of why my humanity is what it is. So a person who is apathetic, if they lack the ability to see my humanity, or say it's that Klans person, if I don't have individuals who have access to that person to help change that psychology, that's how it's going to pass down generationally from the side that oppresses my people. But also, black folks still have a duty to, freedom is only given to those who take it. It's never voluntarily given. So you can't sit around thinking that, oh, because I should have this freedom, they're going to give it to me. No, if you're going to be a free person, act like a free person. Conduct yourself as if you don't have to ask permission from law enforcement, as if you don't have to worry about the regard of law enforcement, although we know we do because our life on the line. But when you start acting free, it's a different pride you walk with. And I think one of our conversations in the past, when the stuff I got going on in Alabama, I told the officer, I am a free citizen of the United States of America. I'm a free man. He told me I didn't have any rights. He told me, no, I was not a free citizen. Yes, I am. Bro, just because you said your free speech said that I wasn't, my free speech says it is. The facts of the matter is my constitutional rights say I am. My social security card say I am.
So
My birth certificate say I am.
what context would he use to say that you're not?
Because people have the common misconception, and even worse, police officers, law enforcement officers think that their authority, when they give a lawful order, that is a new law unwritten. And if you don't follow the new unwritten law that they verbalized as an instruction, you're obstructing a lawful order. They think that them giving you an instruction that's a lawful order, they don't think you have the freedom of speech to protest their lawful order. Now you can protest it. You still got to go do the arrest if you get arrested, as you saw. If people saw that video that I had in Alabama back in April, May timeframe. But you still got to go through the process of arrest. But then I'm gonna use that same free speech, the First Amendment, to redress my grievances to the government, to the court. My constitutional rights were violated. I don't feel I should be detained. I don't feel I should be pulled over. I feel this law enforcement officer's investigation violates everything in my constitutional rights. On top of him verbalizing I'm not a free citizen of the United States and I'm not a free man and I had no rights. And I told him, yes, I do. But I remember a few years ago, I woke up one day and I started saying that as a mantra. I am a free man. I'm a free black man every morning and every night before I went to bed. It's a different air you walk around in your chest with, especially 3 years later when a cop come up when you talking about you ain't a free man. Yes, I am.
The question that I have to that is, like I say, when you hit those bumps in the road, or when you face reality in certain aspects that shows you that essentially, yes, we are free, but in a huge aspect, as far as black men, there are still a lot of restraints put on us as far as existing. And when you have those experiences, what do you say to those people that go through those and it hinders them on their journey to self freedom? You know what I'm saying? They say, "Oh no, I'm still a slave under this particular under this soil that we call America. I'm still a nigga."
I mean, in essence, that's what I feel like every day because the plantation never ended. 13th Amendment says slavery is abolished except as punishment for crime. And punishment for crime went to every state in U.S. territory. Anybody in jail, prison, probation, parole, out on bail, we victims of the system of a debtor's prison and of a slave system. So if you too poor to afford bail, you in jail just because you can't afford to get out. It ain't even the fact that you innocent or guilty. It's the fact you too poor to leave. So it the economic plight into being So that was the trick. The government told the poor white man to hate all black people, and the thing is, the poor white man get treated like black people, but acts as if there's a difference. Uh, the moment that there's a Dead Prez out album, Let Us Get Free, is one of the clips during it saying when the line between those who have and those who ain't got is recognized. So that's the 1%. And the middle class realizing there's no such thing as middle class. It's just upper class and lower class. That when the police stop protecting the upper 1%, thinking that the American dream and that the facade of capitalism and that we can acquire the things that the billionaires have when they keeping us oppressed, when the police and the military realize that that dream is not something they can acquire, it's something they protecting, and they killing their own family members and friends and their own communities, that's when that's why the revolution won't be televised. The government gonna cut electricity and social media platforms, and they not gonna want the awareness, because right now people don't know there's so many uprisings across the nation over the same stuff that we're going through. I'm not across the world, over the internationally. Nepal, they have a whole youth-led revolution. Like a 16-year-old gave this fiery speech. They set the nation's capital on fire, bro. The stuff with Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, the BRIC, Russia supporting black African countries to get their liberation from Europe. That's why the Cold War was fought. That's the part they don't tell you. So the thing is, the thing that people don't realize when it comes to, like, and this is the free speech of things, when it comes to terrorism, they label people terrorists. That you have a state of Israel that's been in the Middle East for 70 years, but what do you think happens when in 1948 the people who were displaced then were killed and genocide took place, and then their children were killed and their grandchildren were killed, and the ones who survived are the grandparents of today going through the same thing, and you grew up over 70 years of being killed and having genocide in an open air prison. It's a prison. They can't they can't get a passport and just leave the boundaries. It's no different than the slave pass coming off the plantation. It's modern day apartheid in South Africa. So to be silent in the face of this is to be complicit with the oppression. The black plight of people of color across the world and the diaspora of black folks across the planet is the same when it comes to colonialism, when white people are the minority on the planet. It's 8 billion people on the planet, and black and brown people are the majority. And so you see in Burkina Faso, the resources coming back. They kicked France out and took their gold reserves back, and you got a black general of the United States government saying that he's a terrorist, but he's giving free education, free housing, free transportation, free everything to his people, supporting it with the gold and resources they have. I know you're saying something, brother.
No, I don't want to derail I don't want to derail the points or the direction that you're going with the particular conversation, but going back to something that you said a few minutes ago regarding, of course, with free speech in this particular subject, and with Jimmy Kimmel, how he was discontinued when, of course, suspended indefinitely, which only lasted 2 days, but how he definitely had to come back. So as far as the whole censorship, like, is that censorship, or is that just a side or someone flexing their power?
No, censorship is a flex of power. If the government has control over what you can and cannot say, if right now they don't like what we're saying, they make your internet and my internet go black, and we're the only two people on these platforms because they don't like our voice. But also, what happened to Donald Trump when he got kicked off Twitter for Elon Musk to go buy it? That was censorship. Anything that censors speech is censored. It's not free. If you stop speech so if you don't like that Charlie Kirk said what he said, you can't. It don't matter. He can say it. But also, I can say back what I want to say. That's called my protest, my free speech protest. The where it becomes criminal is if somebody touched somebody. You can go back and forth all day. It's freedom of the idea of the pool of thoughts. I might change your mind, I might not, but will I? Who knows? We can argue all day.
So in correlation to that, just like you say, if you disagree with what Charlie Kirk say, just because someone we know who disagreed with what Jimmy Kimmel was saying, how could they successfully go about doing something that's unconstitutional?
So the only way, that's a good point. The only way you can get a grievance before the court is for a unconstitutional thing to happen. So in the civil rights movement, everybody know like Selma was about the Voting Rights Act and people with the grandfather's clause test, counting a jar of jelly beans or name all the county judges in the counties of the state you live in, and just very impossible tests, right? So, and your question was,
The
how
correlation
does it?
of Charlie Kirk's free speech and Jimmy Kimmel's free speech, and how they were successfully able to demonize Jimmy Kimmel for just speaking his opinion, but they were praising Charlie Kirk for speaking his opinion, but Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air.
So essentially, oh yeah, you're talking about how can they get away with that? So
Yeah.
essentially, act isn't criminal or unconstitutional or against whatever law until the act is performed. So if, like, for instance, in Pensacola, where we at, there's a ordinance from like when cars were first invented that when you get onto the interstate or the major road, you have to get on an on ramp with your lantern and wave your hands to let traffic know you're about to merge onto in the traffic, right? If the police gave you a ticket, you can go to court and say nobody gets ticketed for this. It's such an unenforced law that the court would throw it out. So, in a similar regard, the Voting Rights Act or voting rights came about because when people got arrested for trying to register to vote, that's how they got it to the federal court. They'll go to the state judge. If the state judge sentenced them under the state law for trying to vote, go to federal court. Judge, we got arrested for trying to do the 15.
Yo, can you hear me? I can't hear you from Instagram. You just went off. I can see you just fine, but
Can you hear me now?
yes, yes.
So I had this pop up that said something about the hand gestures I was using. So I guess it stopped my mic for whatever reason. But no, but I was saying the so it went from, oh Lord, that hand gesture thing threw me off because I was reading it too. What was the last point? Because it was, where were we at? The last
Yeah,
thing I was talking
yeah,
about.
because I imagine as soon as it popped up, you went mute. So I was hoping that it was going to pop back for a second, and when it didn't,
But
you
do you
were
know the
still
last
talking.
part that you know the last part you caught?
We were still talking about
The
how they
Jimmy.
were able to get out of Jimmy Kimmel. That's the last thing
Yeah.
that I heard.
All right. So essentially, the when people went to vote, they got arrested. If the state judge was like, "No, you can't arrest them. The 15th Amendment allows black people to vote," the arrest is dismissed. Or the state judge sentenced them. Right? You see the picture of Martin Luther King in the Birmingham jail or Selma jail. If they go to prison for that, you appeal to the federal court on a federal question. So now, federal court, hey, in the state court, we got arrested for trying to vote. Y'all said we can vote. Hey, you can't do that. So now the federal got to enforce the state to do this thing. Or the state got to enforce the local to stop doing this thing, right? The police to stop arresting for this. the folks at the clerk at the supervisor of elections to register people who come in to register to vote if they meet the qualifications without having to count a jar of jelly beans. So how can they get away with Jimmy Kimmel? Jimmy Kimmel now has a lawsuit against his employer and against, well, the administration they're gonna say is immune because of presidential immunity, but the FCC chairman ain't, who came out with that public statement and said that he should be taken off air, and then the next day he was taken off air. It's a threat, it's coercion, it's censorship at its finest. So that's why you see all the other individuals coming to Jimmy Kimmel's rally, because when you start limiting speech, that's how Hitler got power. They had a propagandist whose sole job was media relations. If you have media education in guerrilla warfare, you successfully overthrow a country, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's using the military in the United States and DC, Memphis, Chicago. What do you think is going to be next after they do all the major cities? It's trickle down effect. Ain't that what they always say?
If you could, I don't know if you remember fully in context, but of course we spoke about it a lot last year, and I do see a lot of those objectives in play this year in 2025. But do you remember at all, or can you recall, or do you see anything from Project 2025 that is in effect that maybe have said that it wasn't going to take effect, but it did in fact take effect? Because I'm seeing a lot of
So beyond, I want to say back in March, I had a conference at Ohio State University's law school, and one of my colleagues that I used to work with in New Jersey for their attorney general's office, she was there, and she had come across a website, and I still have it, but I hadn't looked at it probably since April, May timeframe. But it back in March, it told you how much of Project 2025, which became Agenda 47, how much of it had been completed up to date. And in that time frame, it had already been like 72, 76% complete. They're not far from all completion of it, but the majority of things they said in that they were going to do, they've pretty much accomplished. I would imagine in the last 6 months or 5 months since then, I would be interested in knowing what the remaining. But it was something she was, because I think her pastor at her church told her, and when she shared the link with me, because I didn't know it existed, but it was something that like a university or news outlet is keeping track of each item from Project 2025 / Agenda 47. You can keep track of the metrics of how many itemized things that they have brought to fruition, and
yeah,
it's a lot.
because a lot of it was with the military actually being involved in civil matters. So is there is there any case of
That's unconstitutional. That's unconstitutional right there. You're not supposed to
exactly
deploy U.S. troops in the United States. We have the
exactly
law enforcement police officers for that.
exactly? So like say, well, we're gonna just jump to it. Like I was gonna build these bits and points, but it's gonna all lead to a big hive point. Like how are they able to get away with something so unconstitutional and they sit in such high of a seat?
Uh, the Constitution provides the president immunity.
Mhm.
Um, the fact that police have immunity and the president is pretty much federalizing local police officers, state and local, and the state and local police officers are, if like for instance California, if you get, like in Florida, we have a governor who's aligned with the president, that the sheriffs in Florida, if they're aligned with the governor and president, they'll welcome ICE. They will go police communities that shouldn't be policed by military or policed at all, because there's a over police militarization anyway. Like politicians always say it's a lot of crime, but they don't talk about the true facts. Um, the governor in California, he wrote a bill saying that any law enforcement officer, state, federal, anyone, local, has to not wear face masks. The federal officers already, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, already said they're not following that. So you're going to start seeing state officers under California or their local officers arresting those individuals who come masked. Or you're going to see them aligning themselves with the federal police to thwart the local police who try to, you're going to see the police start clashing
Do
between
you
federal and local and state.
just real quick? Do you believe, or do you see, or would you have seen a few years ago that they would have tried to make mask wearing a part of like the Constitution somehow, like the right
It's
to
It's already against the law in most places because before COVID, you couldn't wear mask in public because it conceals your identity if because you
right.
wouldn't be recognizable if you committed a crime. But since COVID, I don't see how they're enforcing mask laws. Like they'll enforce those mask laws on civilians, but police can't. But no, but beyond that, police wearing masks is unconstitutional. I need your name, badge, number, and your supervisor. You don't want to give me any of that? What if I'm being kidnapped by an imposter? How do I know if you want to authenticate yourself and you're a government agent? You're a public servant and won't tell me your public servant credentials? That's scary. If you
Better not,
walking up on
better
me
not
with
tell them
something
that they're
like,
public servant. Better not tell them
nah,
that.
bro, I remember in Mobile, Alabama, Mobile County, Alabama, it was a dude not long ago right before you crossed into Mississippi, but between that stretch between Pensacola and Mississippi through Mobile, he was impersonating a law enforcement officer. He was pulling people over and then sexually assaulting women.
Hmm.
People do that, bro. And then if you look at up the cases across the country of and then go look at the demographic of the people who impersonating cops. It don't be black folks as often as white. But also that's a good because you was talking about crime and statistics. I said something about statistics. That's the thing on that shit, bro. The majority of crime is perpetrated by people within your proximity. Think of
Right.
the whole birds of a feather flock together. White people be around white people. So the majority of crime perpetrated upon white people is by a white perpetrator.
Right.
Black folks perpetrate crime majority on black folks. Asians on Asian. Hispanic. It's not because of anything other than the majority of crime is perpetrated by someone you know normally. Random crime by a
Anything.
stranger, rare.
Anything. It can be who you just talk to most, who you're liable to possibly be in a relationship. If you're at a summer camp or whatever, and you're just 50 kids in the summer camp, those are the people you're going to interact with. Those are the people that you're going to fight with. Those are the people that you're going to have relationships with, only because that's your proximity.
And even in that proximity, you're going to find your smaller cliques and your subgroups in those smaller cliques. And so it's something that it excludes others and it helps you to feel it's your comfort zone. And that's normal. That is normal. So being able to understand that, all right, yeah, it does look like, all right, people love saying black folks and brown folks represent 70% of the prison and jail population. Yeah, but you also don't say that the majority of plea deals are white folks who don't see the inside of a jail or prison when they did the same crime or something worse. So if you're not even in prison, why would you be counted in the statistic of prisoners and inmates? You wouldn't. If you couldn't afford bail and you ain't even been to prison or jail for being convicted of a crime, but you just simply couldn't afford the bail debt, of course the numbers are skewed when you impoverish in an area because the system's already rigged against you. They want the black and brown bodies in there so that way they can get they lease prisoners. They in Alabama, the county that I got arrested in, Morgan County, they use those jail inmates at Burger King, McDonald's, the little chickens, yellow spot up the street, pay them regular wage. They pay them like $60 every 2 weeks. And the warden keep the rest of it for the jail. That's their profit. Who you think get them cuts at the end of the year? Who get them bonuses? people who getting revenue off those heads. So even private prisons work like that.
And then in prison, being that everything is so confined, and you can only worry about so much. That little bit seems like a lot, or you're gonna do whatever you get to get that little bit just so you can have some sort of life in prison. That's just crazy.
Bro, $60 over 14 days compared to maybe 5, if that. Bro, you're gonna take the larger amount, even if you getting hustled. But that's the whole thing. It's free labor. That's why the 13th Amendment says slavery is abolished except as punishment for crime. Punishment for crime, you sitting there, they taking your labor pay. And they know what they doing.
For all the viewers, for the people watching, man, y'all share this, y'all comment, interact. If you want to come on board, we're welcome to have you on to see what you feel. If you have any rebuttal, anything you want to add on, you're more than welcome. But nah, I just wanted to add that, bro. Please continue.
Nah, and then but like I know we were speaking on the aspect of Charlie Kirk's free speech. So to engage in debate for actual meaningful discussion, I would agree he engaged in free speech, but I don't think it was debate because over talking someone on points that are ill-gotten isn't valid. Yes, 70% of the prison incarceration population and jail population would be skewed if white folks get deals that don't render them incarcerated. Also, if 70% of the population is white in the United States and white people perpetrate majority of crime against other white people that they know, because crime's not random, how is it that of the offenders of white people who are arrested, the ones who, you got to think of it, the ones who get deals, the ones who don't get deals. So, and then you got to think the ones who don't even face prosecution to even be arrested. They don't even have to face not getting a deal or a deal. Excuse me. Goodness. That should be crazy though, because all this shit, it works against us. Because so, for instance, they're gonna build the jails and prisons in the rural county next to the one that got the big city. Why? Because when it go, here it goes. Oh, he talking about voting. No, voting is your right to free speech. The person's name that you check, but also it's the person's name who you don't check is your protest of them. You can leave the whole thing blank and then put your ballot in.
Quick interjection.
Vote.
This is a valid point. Interjection for the viewers, of course. We'll speak on that real quick if you want to condense it. But tell the people why they should or should not vote.
I think voting is a personal choice. I'm not gonna tell a person whether they should or should not. A lot of people like guilt tripping people into voting. Oh, you should because our ancestors sweat blood and tears and died for this. I agree. But that's not why we should vote. Okay, if last election y'all said everybody should vote because of that, well, how about this one? Everybody not vote, or everybody go and don't fill out your ballot. Just put it in and show them how to. If we don't bubble it in, we would have got the same result. The last election was rigged, and they got proof. So, if our protest is going to vote but not bubbling it in, we still would have got the same result. So listen to, like, this is the thing. Only 30% of the registered voters vote. That's not talking about all the people who are eligible to vote. The number of eligible voters, right there, if we don't even talk about voting, we just say, hey, everybody who's eligible to vote but don't believe in voting, I want to run today, everybody vote for me so we can say, fuck the system. And if everybody who could do that went out and voted for that one person, you would win because majority of people don't vote. But, and then of the people who are registered to vote, only a third of those vote. So you diluting the number more and more. I'm not going to tell a person whether, because honestly, I think in the solidarity of black folks, we need to either everybody get up and go in solidarity, but I also think we need to see what the power of our vote don't do, because we already see what it does.
I think it'll be. I think in my ideal vision or view or dream or whatever, I think it'll be great for everyone to vote, but I need everyone to know more than the bipartisan, because overall I feel like they're an essential tag team. So I feel like if enough people can get on some sort of third party or a strong enough independent, then yes,
See,
we need
bro,
to vote.
I appreciate this being on the lunch table, because this where I start feeling just more like, I know I got degrees and shit behind me, but bro, that's where motherfuckers start losing me. I know what it is to be bipartisan. I understand what Republicans and conservatives and liberals and Democrats, I understand all that. I don't be wanting to hear all that shit. Like, honestly, what's right and what's wrong thing to do? And don't give me a straight answer. Don't bullshit me. You know, that's how we need to start addressing our politicians. If they got some fluff, man, fuck you, dog. But we can't say that. We got to be political, right? So it's like, all right, beyond voting. All right, everybody voted last November. What we about to do for the next 364 days of this year? And then the next 365 of that year. And the next 360, like, y'all, we really gonna plan for the next 4 years just because he's here now? Mobilize and organize. They got police whooping our ass still, and y'all talking about what we gonna do in 3 more years. Who cares? We about to die right now. They taking over the government, like, in a way it ain't supposed to be taken over.
Mm.
That's not
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So speaking of that, and bringing that back, Jermaine, to the topic that we're on today, how are the government how is the government able to regulate free speech as it has been doing?
So, and that's a constitutional protection. The government can regulate free speech because there's certain parameters, like I was saying earlier. It can be vile speech. It can be so horrendous that it evokes the emotions out of the people. It doesn't mean that the emotions evoked, I can go harm the person who evoked the emotion out of me. It means that you can use your free speech in response, and then they might use theirs. Free speech doesn't end when a person starts theirs.
Mm.
It keeps
And
going back
and
and forth.
yeah, yeah, and once again, just using Jimmy Kimmel just as an example, just for more context on what went down and how it went down. Like, was it something specific other than Charlie Kirk's name and the subject of it? Because I understand how basically he was saying how the Democrats, well, the bipartisan just in general, are using Charlie Kirk to well, weaponizing it to combat each other. Basically, for the most part, that's what he was saying. But of that, is it anything specific that he said that could have breached anything, or was
Nope.
it just some hey, he's giving too much game, shut him up?
No, it's not even too much game. It's the fact that someone's like that is the textbook view of censorship, because their press is speech, media is speech, whether it's radio, social, redress of grievances to the government, written, uh, and the reason speech can be regulated is if, like, the only time speech can be regulated by the government. Say I want to have a protest at the high school, but say I want to have it at 10 a.m. Monday morning. School's going on. I can't ask to get the gymnasium to do my protest. It's going to disrupt the flow of the day, the economic day of the school. But if I ask for it on Saturday when it's closed, they can give me a permit for that. I had a protest at the airport before. The airport has designated forum. Any public library, airport, a fire station, a police department, you go talk to their building administrator, they have to tell you where their designated public forum is. You can fill out a paper and rent this and reserve the space to hold your protest. And it's good to do that, because if a counter protest group shows up, someone who may not like you if they come in a counter protest, if you reserve the spot, the police gonna get the counter protesters. You can create a counter protest section 3 blocks away. Police, I want the counter. Our designated counter protest area is 3 blocks that way. Usher them there.
But now
I can still
protesting
say what I
illegal.
want. You can't say
Yeah.
you can't limit what I say. You can limit how I say it.
But in correlation to free speech, because like I say, still keeping it germane, how are they able to essentially allow? It looks like they're, if they haven't already fully made protesting illegal. That's free speech, isn't
But
it?
that's the thing. It is, but that's the thing. If you don't protest the illegality of them making protests illegal, they just gonna arrest you. And if everybody arrested for the thing that we able to do, is no one to fight back. Now they got all this free labor from the exception. That's the whole point. Make everyone there. You ain't gotta break a law. We just want you. Alcatraz, alligator Alcatraz. We just want you. And they disappeared some bodies down there.
So
Like,
once again, hiving this all together from
it's
one
not
of the points.
legal. How can they get away with it? Because immunity, police immunity, law enforcement immunity. If they kill somebody, they don't go to jail. What do you think is happening if they taking us off the street? Nothing.
So
What do you
so
think
once
happens if the president
yeah
who has immunity that's the power of the protest. If we don't get up
yeah.
now and start talking and speaking out, it's not just holding people accountable. We got to be out here doing this work and beyond just it's
100%.
and the thing is, so of old, I said guerrilla warfare is how people took over governments. That's not how you do it in 2025. You use social media. We don't have the ability to have guns because you see what they martial law and getting ready for type stuff. You use your phone and go live.
Real quick,
You
is it true that now in Florida you're able to open carry?
Yeah, the Supreme Court of Florida changed that law most recent.
I needed to know that, but going back to what we were saying just a second ago, like I say, hiving this all together when we were saying initially, just as far as black men being free, walking free, feeling free, living free. If this particular government is so corrupt that they are able to make these unconstitutional moves because they have the exempt, they're exempt basically. How are we supposed to definitively live as if we are free if essentially the game plan is laid out like, bro, it's a trap. It's a trap. We are entrapped. Any direction that we go, essentially, there's no hope unless we actually fight and make our way out. But how do we effectively convey that, knowing that these motherfuckers are gonna be exempt for breaking the rules anyway?
So, and that's why this is so dangerous. Like, all jokes aside, everything that's going on is no different than if people. That's why I keep saying don't preach to the choir. I know I got comrades and that I know have read Hitler's Mein Kampf book that are black homies, like my people. But I know those same individuals, I can sit there and talk about his frame of mind to understand the idea of the psychology of what we're combating.
Right.
You must know your opponent to be able to overcome it, right? So
Right.
white folks know black history than we do. The fact that they have studied us so in depthly and still have this white supremacist, neo-colonial, colonial, imperialistic aspect over the world, you have to start studying their psychology to understand how all the monsters. It's like Malcolm X said, just because one rattlesnake is nice to you and ain't bite you, don't mean the other 99 won't. So don't be fooled by mirages too. Like, if people don't have true heart, and that's why I like the politics shit is semantics, because Democrats know what's going on, but it's not in white Democrats' interest to end white supremacy, because white folks are afraid that ending white supremacy means retribution by black folks of whatever that means. Black folks just want equality and equity in that. Black power, power of all people. All people power does not mean ending white power. It means having power for all people.
Yeah.
To include black folks.
And then, like I say,
So
that just correlates to Tulsa. That just correlates to Tulsa. If we do take what we believe is ours and we excel at it, how they'll say, you know what? Nah, we finna take this all down. Like, if we know our history, and being that they're trying to hide our history so they can repeat it, for those that know our history, know what may come, how do we walk in that light that, hey, we're going to redo, quote unquote, Tulsa, lack of other words, but just something that's ours.
I think that's going to be the solidarity of black folks. We're going to have to rely on ourselves. We have to create economic structures that will allow us to survive in the days that are coming. One of my legal mentors told me the other day, she said it's scary because we're about to go back to the 1940s. And you got to think, if we want black wealth, black economics, 1940s and 50s, before integration, was at the height of black economic power. And it was still being disenfranchised by not having equality through equity. So if in the space where we can work together and understand that it's going to be our duty to save our community of black folks on the local level, the state level, across the nation. Like, we got to have it. If we go somewhere like the Sundown Town, the Green Book, we have to have communities that if we go from here to any other state, any other city, we got a safe refuge. It's going to have to go back to that. We can't be running from everyone everywhere. That's why most of us got mental health issues.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was going to say something until I forgot.
I like that. I'm going to say that. I was going to say something until I forgot.
That's all right. It happens all the time. But yeah, y'all like, share this shit for sure.
And then I was going to say too, like, a lot of stuff with the free speech that people don't realize. We have to, I despise what Charlie Kirk stood for and people who follow him who think that's such a righteous mentality of free speech. Although I understand the speech is still free, it comes to a point of being able to listen, not saying I'm right, listening in case for granted you were wrong. What if the person across from me has a valid point that if I weren't so quick to be defensive to negate it, what's the heart of what they're really trying to communicate to me?
Those people wouldn't be willing to, but they wouldn't be willing to learn, or they either they don't have the capacity or not willing to accept within their capacity, like you say, the possibility of learning something more than what they have before, or just the possibility of being wrong. That embarrassment, it could just be that simple. Some people just don't want to be wrong, or some people don't realize it's not being wrong. Motherfucker, you just got smarter.
But see, I think that's what's working against each other in that regard. Because people don't want to be wrong and no one's ever been told they were wrong. So you don't want to be wrong in a space where no one corrected you that you were incorrect.
Yeah.
And you grew up thinking that was the correct mentality. And now you don't understand why the world against you.
No, I get it, because people don't understand, like, being wrong, staying wrong is, I think it's different, because you could have been, your opinion on something could have been wrong, or you could have been misinformed, and you receive new information, and you accept that you're no longer on the side of wrong. So you don't necessarily have to wear that stench or that embarrassment of being the wrong person. You just learn something.
This might get some views from like back in when was that? the 2005 to 2008 time frame, this was actually the point of the real Illuminati. The real Illuminati during the Enlightenment period. The Enlightenment period, the people who were the conscious thinkers, who thought outside the box of what the government told them, of the propaganda they saw, the propaganda they heard, the George Washingtons, the founders of America, right? The people who wrote the freedom documents of the United States. Before they came here, they were part of the Enlightenment period. The folks in England, right? They love talking about English history. Let's talk about that. The Enlightenment period was the time of free thought, the separation of church and state, where state laws and church laws were now different. And now you got to think about the things, the peasant classes and the classes, although there were classes, it was a restructure of how it happened. So free thought, nobody's exercising their free thought. We are sheeple. We got herd mentality. And everybody's following, not realizing we need to be independent thinkers. To be an independent thinker during the time to go against the king was to be a part of the illuminated minds, the Illuminati, the person who can think for themselves, who didn't need the church or the government telling them how to conduct themselves as a free man. So that's why when the oppressed white folks in Europe wanted to have the revolution once they came to the what would now be the United States, it's because the illumination of we shouldn't be oppressed there, so we're not going to be oppressed here, and then they turned around and oppressed people here too.
When did the Illuminati become correlated to something demonic?
You saw that kind of intertwined. Well, like you have to realize Freemasonry history is Black history of the Temple of King Solomon. But it was stolen, just like Egyptian history, from the Greeks to the Romans. Freemasonry, when white Masons stole the history, but also you see a lot of that with the Christian Crusades. Get rid of different older versions of Christianity and Islam and anything they didn't want as King James. That's like Pensacola Catholic High, the Crusaders. Like they was chopping folks' head off in the name of Jesus. And it's symbolic of today. The U.S. stance. But you saw the more demonization because of how it intertwined Black spirituality and then white folks using it for the tangible things. That's like the scripture says, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's why you see it on so much stuff. It tricks our minds. Like, and that's the whole third eye stuff, bro. Your pineal gland. That's why you're supposed to meditate. Decalcify that thing. They said by the time you're 8 years old, your pineal gland is calcified, and you no longer have your spiritual connection. That's what they're trying to cause to happen. Kids always have. That's why kids be seeing stuff different. If you meditate and be out in the sun, you get them crystals off your pineal gland. But that goes into some of the stuff we was talking about earlier. But it all intertwines differently, bro. But that's the thing. They don't want us to know. Like, this is the astrology of the human body. Right. If the atoms of our body were the stars of the sky, that's the astrology, how all of this is interconnected. The sciences, the heavens, the earths, the thing that's above and below, inside and outside.
Yeah, well, you can elaborate there if you want.
But that also goes. But I was gonna say that also goes to your free speech. Like, I'm learning it at its most root level at my age of 38 because I debate myself, and it sounds funny because, like, bro, are you really taking the time to be like asking yourself all these questions? And yes, I am. As soon as I have an engagement with a person, I could say something simple, And just because the person's response is off, it could be like, the fuck you talking to me like that for? Or but also I'm thinking this, you know what? That person's tripping. I didn't ask nothing for them to trip. I could have simply not asked them a question. And it's because of me taking my internal thought and deciding under my own volition that the decision I'm going to make is to talk. And the words I said made this person react this way. I don't know why they did, but I made the decision to talk. I could have just not said nothing.
Right.
Now, do I want to disturb my internal peace to cause the external peace to possibly be disrupted? Now, if I disrupt external peace by using my voice, and see, that's the thing too. People don't realize words and speaking is an action. When you talk, the action of speaking, the being able to speak words is the act of speaking. So it's an action. And people feel that you're not supposed to be allowed to have a reaction to someone's action. So if an action of words, if the action in speaking is disclosing, communicating words, the reaction could be the same, could be more, could be less.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You know why I keep coughing, bro?
Typically, every action has a reaction, cause and effect.
And that's so. And even with that internal, external aspect of my peace, do I want to disturb the peace of this person with the thought that I had internally? To one, communicate it as an action that then they could react, good or bad. Will they react in a way I want them to? Is the way I want them to going to be good or bad? And if I want them to react in a bad reaction, my response is going to cause me an internal conflict that then causes me an external conflict. Do I want my peace to be disturbed externally and internally, that when I leave this space, I'm still thinking about it internally? I'm really going to do all them processes now, bro. Because I'm like, it ain't worth it. I don't feel like talking.
No, I feel that. Been there multiple times.
But that's the
Some
power
other
of free speech. I would say that's the power of free speech, though, because
pros and
choosing
cons?
when not to speak is as powerful as speaking. But in the face of, evil, you got to
Yeah.
speak. But you were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
No. Just piggybacking on that. Definitely knowing when and when not to speak. Definitely, like, if you have that objective mindset, and especially if you understand the person that you're interacting with and the routes that this may go, depending on your reaction to what have been done. So, if you can see what the next step may lead to, yeah, definitely. Sometimes it may be more beneficial just to stay silent, for sure. What I was going to say just a little bit earlier was, but I was definitely going to let you keep rolling on that. But as far as there any other like possibly news topics locally, nationally that we may need to discuss or briefly go over or convey to the people.
I'm just trying to think what's and because it's beyond the Charlie Kirk aspect. It's more so like the response to Black folks. One, my thing is Black folks.
Had nothing to do with this.
Why were we brought into the conversation of this? And
Had
then
nothing
the
to do with
response is they threatened our HBCUs. Like they had two white boys pop up at Tennessee State University yesterday, and the confidence they have of being agitators of the wrong side. Like, yes, it's free speech, but also we can our reaction can be exactly what it was, and it means we exerted our free speech too. It doesn't mean we're wrong or you're wrong. You just gotta leave because it's dangerous for you now.
yeah.
And that's your fault because you had an internal decision that you made external.
I, de- I definitely feel like black people got a lot of the flack because black people were some of the main ones online.
Bro, you ain't just gonna keep talking like I ain't over here. I almost lost my whole life coughing from laughing.
I mean, I see you got your water, bro. I'm trying to make sure. I'm
Bro,
trying to make sure
I'm
my
just playing.
mouth
I'm
also
just
clear.
playing. Nah, I appreciate you. I just had to catch my breath real quick. I ain't hear not one word you had just said. over here. Oh Lord, he talking. I'm about to lose my whole life.
I know, man. Let me know you good. Let me know you good. You straight?
No, I'm good, bro. I was just talking.
No, what I was saying was with black people basically, you know how black Twitter is, and of course Twitter's not a thing, but it's about how black people are on social media. On social media, how we troll every topic, we troll everything, we make light of it. And being that black people were the majority of the ones making light of this particular top subject, we received all the flack and the blame as if we were the ones were the culprits basically of this particular situation, to the point to where I saw rallies, not locally, but I saw rallies where they were chanting white man fight back. Against who? It was a white man that did this to another white man.
That's what's so
Who
confusing, though, for real. But that's why you know this is a dangerous space to be in because the true sentiment is coming out without it. With we had nothing to do with this, most legitimately, and that's that exact sentiment. What are you fighting back? The fact that the mentality of what is desired and who y'all desire in yourself to be over everything is y'all's fear. And that's the thing. This is fear that's driving this.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Believing that they're no longer the majority, believing that their race is gonna die out by mixed breeds and all this other things.
2050. Yep.
Yeah, but no, no. Everyone's still gonna be here. Definitely gonna be more mixed people, but everyone's still gonna be here.
And but see, the thing that I think in all of this, everyone's projecting the future based on the past. We really just need to talk about the shit we haven't talked about. Nobody talked about why this shit hurts black folks feeling so much in a sense of our ancestry and everything we know about us. But the thing is, because they don't want their feelings hurt from us telling stories that affect us, we have to sit here with the pain and trauma. And it's not that we have to tell the story to them for them to feel for us. It's the fact that y'all can't recognize our humanity to simply leave us the fuck alone.
You just resparked your thought because a minute ago when I lost my train of thought, I thought of something, I forgot it. You just helped me respark it because you mentioned a few moments ago, a few minutes ago, 1940s and how everything is coming back from the 1940s and 1950s. Just how history is soon to repeat itself. What I was gonna say to add on to that is how they're assuring that it does repeat itself. They're making sure that people don't remember what happened or aren't able to find out what happened back in history in 1940 so that they only know the context so that it can indeed repeat itself. That's what I was going to say.
I don't think I don't think it's repeating. I don't think it ever stopped. I think it was the illusion that we thought things would get better. It's the reason Martin Luther King Jr. said he thought we may have integrated into a burning house. I think Brown versus Board of Education because the first one said to desegregate and to integrate, and that was the first case in 1954. The second Brown versus Board of Education in 1955 said to integrate at all deliberate speed because you couldn't heal racism overnight. So if there was no time to comply, deliberate speed, they knew they never stopped Plessy v. Ferguson. They knew they never stopped segregation. They knew they never stopped discrimination. And in the Constitution, this is what I say, the way they get away with Jimmy Kimmel only has a civil action. He can only sue. It's not going to be a criminal penalty. There's not going to be any sanctions. And if there were, the FCC is going to want to be yeah.
Yo, we got a guest on TikTok.
Right on.
Adort 20 was good. Do you have context on the subject that's going on tonight? Do you have anything you want to interject, or you just hanging out? All right, well, I'm gonna turn you down, let you hang out. Go back to what you were saying, Jay Green.
Um, I don't even know. Well, I was just gonna wrap this point, and then I was gonna say we can go ahead and probably.
I'm gonna give it all that music and everything was, yeah.
Nah, you got. Um, I forgot where I left off. It'd be
Uh,
so much because they hit you so many ways with this shit. But
what we're talking
um,
about was history repeating itself, and then you were saying it never repeated itself. It's still going, and there's a delusion of it being getting better. And then that's when I looked over and I saw that she was accepting
oh yeah,
what
yeah. So the illusion of it getting better is the fact that so if we know we're going back to a period where economically black folks had our own institutions, doctors, lawyers, movie theaters, businesses, schools, the things that we needed. We just didn't have the resources to have the absolute best quality like the government provided others. We had a space that we can create those institutions ourselves now. That if we collaborate strategically, the number of black folks that we have to to help us do this, if we trust each other, and that's the thing, we don't trust each other. One thing about white folks, I say, if one of them say something, they all gonna go with it. No matter what party you are, no matter none of that.
why do you feel
White
like a
folks,
majority of us don't trust each other?
it's Willie Lynch mentality. It's not our fault in a sense, but at the same time, like it's our individual accountability to overcome the things that's not our fault. But we have we come from a people who indigenously knew community, knew family. And society is set up for there to be no family unit. When you turn 18, get out the house, go to college, get away, get your own. That's not
Right.
a family structure. It's no way to build generational wealth. It's a way to create employees to keep generating more employees. Matrix effect
For
type
sure.
shit. So if we don't see the economic advantage of us working together in unity, we have to generate our own power through economics, through trust, and teaching black business through education and what it means. Because that's the thing. You start talking that shit, all that shit mean is money. Everybody want money and to get money. Business, economics, same thing. Money, money,
And
money.
and 100% I'm behind you 100%. And as far as just being ideal and in a world that I believe we all supposed to be living in, hell yes. But dog, being just in business and just not even saying voucher for others or just experience thus far on this earth, bro. It's hard when you encounter so many niggas that's bad at business, so many niggas
But
that's just out to scam. It's it's
but
it's
I understand that.
hard.
I understand that. But no, because see, Frederick Douglass said it's easier to to raise boys than to retrain grown men. That's true. But if we
Right,
don't retrain the grown men, how are we gonna handle the folks who are most broken that we need to lead our people?
right.
If we neglect ourselves, as two black grown men here, if we neglect ourselves, if we fail to recognize ourselves, how do we provide leadership to the rest of our people? If we train up the black child to grow into the black woman, the black child to grow up into the black man, but they're raised by a generation of brokenness who never heals, they at some point become broken with no resilience because they had no one to teach them resiliency. So the thing is, we have to not give up in the regard of it, because I know that, bro, the hustle game is real, the street shit is real. We
Yeah.
gotta agree not to. We gotta have a truce amongst ourselves, bro. You see in community, especially like during during COVID times, George Floyd, during just different times where you see gang uniform. Even when I was in Jersey, bro, no bullshit, bro. When I was in Jersey, I was so pissed this one time. I had to one of my connects. I had talked with getting with the generals of several of the high profile known like gang network of the state like affiliations type shit. Um, and I just had to notify that I was going to do something because what I was trying to work on was called a 24-hour truce. If the police don't use guns for 24 hours, no member of the gangs would. So I was trying to go talk to leadership to see if we can get a statewide truce to trickle down from one side. And then since I was with the Attorney General's office, but I was a mediator, a neutral, and I was trying to work the avenue from my street route. And then I was going to go back to the office and I'm going to do my, office channels and all that shit. And one of the individuals is like, oh, you're going to have to take the gang unit, whatever, supervisor. I'm like, no, don't get me killed. The cop's not coming with me, bro.
And they don't, and
Like,
they definitely don't mind you being that pawn.
bro, but one, they don't see you see that. And then two, they can't see the larger picture. But the thing that was the saddest was the reason it didn't go beyond it isn't because like that was gonna fall through if they was gonna try to send them with me. But the person that I was talking to that was connected to the gang leaders said that the leaders wanted to. They didn't believe the police had the capacity to do that for 24 hours.
I don't either.
I don't, I had the shoulder shrug. I was like, you know what?
I mean,
I don't blame it. I don't blame that mentality at all.
I'd be down for the whole objective of it, but just knowing who are all in uniform and the different type of people that are in uniform, that's a. It may not even sound like a long time, but for that not to happen, for how many people are in uniform that are not all the way sane, yeah, I don't know.
But and I feel you. But I did not disagree with that perspective. And actually, I understood it completely. So, but it's things like that that we have to be willing to do shit we ain't done before to get new results. Like we can't keep thinking that just because we protest, like if we don't like real shit, if we don't have the idea that we gonna ever meet with the folks who don't like us, why the fuck we keep going to protest? You think us going on the street corner, they were like, oh, his sign made me change my mind today. I've been foolish all my life. Oh, look, it's 100 people marching today. I shouldn't have felt like that the past decade.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen from that. We gotta talk to the folks who hate us, bro. We have
Yeah.
to. And they have to speak with us. And there has to be resolution and understanding for there to actually be peace and healing.
Right.
Because that's where liberation is gonna come from. What is peace without liberation?
And I feel that, but just in reference to just the solidarity and gun control and everything, and whether it's the police or just all everyday civilians, I feel like any type of parameters or boundaries that you put on is not going to work. The fact that they are out and the fact that people have guns, we're all fucked. So I feel like unless you're in a position that you are protecting people, I don't really see why anyone should have a weapon. But that's just my particular stance. I have nothing against weapons, not scared of weapons by any means, but I don't feel like for the majority, unless you are
Mm-mm.
in a in a in a profession of hunting or if you're off the grid where you have to hunt, yeah, just walking around just with a weapon just in
Hunting,
your
hunting is
person.
recreation. Hunting's recreation. And actually, did you know in Florida before they passed the open carry law, you could open carry if you were going hunting or fishing. You can, if you
Yeah,
walk downtown,
yeah.
Not us. You know, our skin, they gonna pull up on us
Boy,
if this is before. But you could have a fishing pole and you can carry your sidearm out with your fishing lights talking about I'm going fishing. It's legal. But now they changed the law. But no, no, I don't believe. I believe honestly, I think gun education should start at in middle or high school. I think that education yields safety because kids who know about firearms will know about the dangers of them.
right.
I think that
Sex.
if and then also that's why you teach the benefits of why firearms would be beneficial in hunting and sporting type stuff, why you don't use it to take human life. And then um, the other side of that is the Second Amendment. We talked about the First Amendment, Second Amendment. I believe in my Second Amendment. I want my right to bear arms because if the government becomes too tyrannical, like the king did, right?
Yeah.
If the government becomes too tyrannical and the redcoats, let's say the U.S. government was once upon a time or is becoming the redcoats again,
Yeah.
and we the people to be a more perfect union have to invoke our Second Amendment right, and we have to take up arms. If you let your politicians make laws to not have the Second Amendment except for certain professions, the professions rounding up all our cities, talking about we got the high crime rates, but y'all got the military here, y'all got militarized police here, they gonna be the only ones with the guns while you out here gunless. The reason the Black Panther Party was effective is because there's a checks and balance on the life taking. Not to take a life, but if the police was whooping somebody's ass and you heard the from 20 shotguns, they stopped whooping ass.
Right.
The person got up off the
Nah,
ground. The
for
person
sure.
drove off.
Nah, definitely for sure.
But
Yeah.
but also, you saw what happened January 6th, right? Also, if they decide one day they want Civil War Part 2 and they want to put all the Negroes in alligator Alcatraz, you want to be here with a fork?
And I'm glad they definitely shut that down. If they actually have shut that down, I'm glad they did.
They ain't
Oh
shut
well,
that down. It's like
they didn't.
200 people just went missing. They
I
can't
thought
find them. Their families can't find them, bro. No.
I thought since they reported the inhumane conditions that they had, that they did something about it.
Why would they? They already don't want. They put them on a plane to fly them away, and they already don't care if they live or die. They didn't shut it down. As a matter of fact, I want and 200 might be light, but it's a whole bunch of alligator Alcatraz folks that just went missing, and their families can't find them. That just came out the other day.
Yeah.
Nah, but and peep this.
Real
So
quick,
think of alligator.
real quick, because
Uh huh.
definitely, I would love to talk about that. But real quick about the guns. As far as the whole guns, definitely now that a gun has been created, now that guns are on the street, yeah, definitely, I feel like everyone should be educational about it and should have the right to have one for sure. I just wish that the motherfucker was never created in the first place. I'm just sad that a gun was created to begin with. That's all.
And I feel you because this is why I'll be thinking. I'm like, man, I still remember the innocence of my childhood. I was like, man, if they wanted world peace, why don't they just get rid of all the guns and put them in a fire and melt it or something? And then I was like, well, what if we need guns because a bear attacks us or something? We don't want to have to use like old stuff. Like we should have guns. And then I was like, well, if we should have guns and only some people have guns, what if they start using them for wrong? And then I started going down the history of white oppression in the world and when they got the fireworks from China and then made the bullet instead of fireworks. So and I was like, we just get what we still had. Somebody gonna want what not it's not Nas, but I remember he said it on the song. They say the in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But I wanted to read this quote for you, bro, and I think it resonates to past, present, future. But I can't pronounce the person's name, but he was a he was Jewish, Martin Niemöller, but he lived during the Holocaust, and The quote goes this: first they came for. Oh man, they gave me the wrong version. Hold up. It's called "They Came for Us." First they came for. Hold up. Oh, but it puts in perspective because you're gonna see how they're gonna come for everybody. This is literally what they're doing, and it's so crazy because no one's doing nothing about this, and it's literally what's going on now. First they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. So what if first they come for the immigrants who are Hispanic or black and brown? And what if then they come for the black folks? And then what if they come for everyone who is LGBTQ plus? And then what if they come for everyone who just ain't white? And then what if they come for everyone who ain't white with blue eyes? And then what if they come, like, where does it stop? So if you ain't willing to fight against it, like, bro, I don't know where to go from here if everybody gonna sit around, but I don't think everybody's sitting around. The United States just gotta wake up because the whole world, from France to Nepal to China, there's global revolution right now. We're the only ones not revolutionized.
We have the luxury of the curse to be distracted by everything in every direction that we don't really gotta pay attention to what matters.
It's the algorithms.
Yeah. Anything else before we get about here, man?
Brother, I appreciate you for having me as always. Thank you. And we're going to get this tuning more often. Appreciate y'all. It's
Yes,
Jay Green,
sir.
the Revolutionary, all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and pass it back to the homie Savo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We definitely gonna build this up. That's the objective. So we got to start somewhere. But tune in. We're gonna be clipping this up and putting this out. Facebook coming soon. Instagram, well, Instagram and YouTube as well. But yeah, we out. Be safe.